Hey there, welcome to another VR video. Today I am going over another wrap-up from GDC. Now in the first video, which hopefully you've taken a look at, if not I urge you to check it out, was about VR and AR headsets. This one's actually about accessories and peripherals that are available to accent your VR headset. So it's a little bit of a different spin, and I don't have a lot of information on pricing because a lot of this stuff is for commercial use only or for industry use only. But first, a bit about me. I currently own an HTC Vive Pre, an Oculus Rift with touch controllers, an HP Windows Mixed Reality headset, a PlayStation VR, both the 2016 and 2017 Daydream View devices, a cardboard, and a Nolo VR device. So we're going to move on now to accessories or peripherals that are available for either your existing consumer VR headset or for commercial products. The first one I checked out is going to be important if you own an HTC Vive, whether the HTC Vive that exists today or the HTC Vive Pro that's going to be shipping soon. The DisplayLink Vive wireless adapter, which is the official HTC Vive wireless adapter at this point, is going to allow you to use a 60 Hz spectrum WiGig connection to wirelessly connect your Vive to your PC. Now this technology uses a PCIe slot inside your desktop PC at launch. They don't have a solution currently available for laptops. So if you're only using a laptop for VR gaming right now, the only option that you really have is the TP Cast. The transmitter is just a little box antenna that connects to that PCIe slot on your computer, and you want to mount it either high up on your wall or on your ceiling. The adapter itself sits on top of your head, on top of the strap on your Vive. Either a Vive Pro or a standard Vive will work for this device. And because it's using WiGig, the added resolution of the Vive Pro is not impacted. With a TP Cast, you're actually stuck with the original Vive. In order to make the Vive Pro function with the TP Cast device, you'd have to buy a different TP Cast. The other thing that's different between this device and the TP Cast, which also allows for wireless connection, is the TP Cast uses a router with an Ethernet connection. Now that will work with either a laptop or a desktop PC, but it's not going to give you the same experience as the DisplayLink adapter will. It also could have some interference if it bounces off the walls in a certain direction and things of that nature, which the DisplayLink, they're saying, will not do that. Whether you're getting a DisplayLink official Vive wireless adapter or a TP Cast in the future, they both use a battery pack external, similar to the kind that you'd get for your mobile phone to charge your mobile phone. That has to go somewhere, and there's still a wire from it. So what I found when using the Vive wireless adapter is there's still a thin wire that goes to my back pocket now as opposed to my PC. And when I was using the Vive Pro at GDC, I noticed that the wire was very thin that came out of the Vive Pro, whether I was using a wireless adapter or not. I kind of feel like for myself, while this device isn't out yet, I don't think I would need or really want the wireless adapter at this time. If it's built into a headset in the future, awesome. But as an accessory, it's not something I feel like is super practical. I have a 2 meter by 2 meter space in my living room that I'm using to play most of my games. But I do think that this wireless adapter is going to be awesome for warehouse scale experiences or location-based experiences when coupled with the Vive Pro itself. So I think the future for this device is, if you really need to get rid of a wire, buy the Vive wireless adapter. I think it's absolutely better than the TP Cast that's currently available. It doesn't have that little green line. I looked for it, and it should work great for your setup. However, It does require you to open up your PC. They are going to work on trying to make something that will work with a laptop in the future, but they don't have anything that will launch with this device when it launches later this year that will work with a laptop. And, of course, it's got that antenna, the external battery pack that you stick in a pocket, and the receiver on top of your head. No pricing was available for this device yet, and no official launch date, but they do say that it is coming later this year. So we're going to move on from the Vive wireless adapter to a completely different type of tracking system. Optitrack is kind of an industrial, arcade, location-based experience system. It is not something you're probably ever going to have in your home. The Optitrack system uses these cameras. The one that I have as an example here I think is called a 13W. There's also a 13W Slim. There's all different cameras. I think they had like 15 or 16 different ones in the catalog I picked up. That particular camera, if you mount a bunch of them, will track the Optitrack system. So this vest that this guy's wearing, or just trackers like the ones he has on his arms, or the headset itself, or the blaster that he's got in his hand, all of that is tracked by this camera system. What's cool about the camera system with Optitrack is it's a set it and forget it system. It actually learns by the people putting the equipment on and using it on a regular basis. The cameras keep that information in memory. You don't have to reconfigure controllers. You don't have to reconfigure room scale. You don't have to reconfigure anything once those cameras are set up. It works pretty well. It also can support up to 20 people with one setup. Now, how many cameras is that one setup? Hard to say. I did use the device with one of their games. I think it was just a Rift that was modified that I was using. It did have a bit of a different harness shape, but it felt like it was just an Oculus Rift and looked like an Oculus Rift on the inside. Overall, cool technology, not something I would be using, obviously. And with the camera starting at around $1,500 each for the cameras, and then each of the other components on top of that, definitely not something I would see used in a home use situation. Could be used for training circumstances, could be used for location-based experiences. But even for location-based experiences at this point, I'd lean more toward, if you're starting out with location-based, using something like the Vive Pro with the wireless adapter as opposed to Optitrack, unless you have a practical need for Optitrack itself. The next thing I checked out was Siren. Now, Siren is an Unreal Engine project, and there were two different booths that had two different experiences with this. One was Next Studio that had a photography application where someone actually held a smartphone in front of them attached to a Vive wand controller, and they were able to move around the virtual camera around a virtual person. And that virtual person, you could pick the pose that you wanted and take pictures, and it would rate your photos. It was kind of cool. But what took it up a notch was Vicon. Now, Vicon, like Optitrack, does motion capture, uses a camera-based array system, and motion capture technology similar to what you'd see in films. They did an interview each day from 10 o'clock a.m. until 1 p.m. with an actress playing the role of the character in Siren. I'm just going to play a very, very quick clip of that.
Your muscle movements all the way down to the micro expressions.
Really good, really good.
Thank you, we got there in the end.
You know what, why don't we actually watch a really short video about this process?
So, the actress standing in front of me in real time was being captured by this camera with, I think it was just a tablet. I didn't actually look at the camera itself. And the image of the character was a completely different person, animated using Unreal Engine. It was super impressive. I can see this being the future of motion capture. They also had a demo that had an actor that's well known for this particular type of industry use, Andy Serkis. And you couldn't tell in some cases whether it was the virtual Andy or the actual Andy speaking. It was really cool. Again, no idea on the cost on that one. Tobii had a couple of stations for their eye tracking. One was a Vive demo, which I actually skipped because I was so disheartened by the Qualcomm demo. So Qualcomm had a bunch of things set up. Yesterday in my video about the VR hardware, I talked a little bit about how it used the Tobii Eye Tracking module for foveated rendering. Well, they also had a second Tobii Eye Tracking section where you stood in front of a mirror and it tracked your eye movement. Now, what I was hoping with eye tracking is that you'd be able to get more social expression. So if I raise my eyebrows or frown my eyebrows, it would pick that up based on my eye muscles. No, the eye tracking with Tobii really just looks at, is your eye open or closed, and what direction your eyes are looking in. So to me, it really feels like what Tobii's geared toward is where your eyes focus, that's where you want to put an ad. That's where you want to put something to get dollars. They want to track what you're looking at so you can see what you might be interested in purchasing in the future. It didn't feel like it was something that would add any real value to VR. Obviously, foveated rendering can help a bit, but there's fixed foveated rendering in the Oculus Go as well. It doesn't take advantage of an eye tracking module and still kind of directs your eyes in the correct direction to utilize that space. I don't know how I feel about Tobii outside of right now, at least disappointed. I was really hoping I could use it for social VR interactions. Doesn't seem to add any value there other than if your eyes open or closed. And again, no real cost. I think there are already beta Tobii modules available that you can actually purchase and insert into your existing VR equipment, but I don't think there's really much software to take advantage of it. Up next was Haptics. They have their own controller that mounts to a Vive controller, if that makes any sense. I played a bow and arrow game with it. You definitely do feel that haptic feedback, the pull of the bow. I don't know what the cost is going to be. They were still prototypes even at the booth that I tried out, but it's a pretty cool feeling having that stronger haptic feedback than you get with the Vive or the Rift touch controllers at the current time is kind of cool. I'm hoping though that comes standard with a future controller and I don't have to buy an accessory for that. Again, no idea on pricing, no idea on when they'll become available. These were still prototypes. Next, another haptic device. This was called Ultrahaptics. Now this was just kind of, I think, a sound firing array with an ultrasound. It almost looked like bubble wrap that was sitting atop of a Leap Motion. Now the demo that I did, I played as a wizard. I got to hold my hands over the device and orbs would appear, and when I touched the orbs I would learn a lightning spell and I'd feel kind of that electricity bubbling up on my palms of my hands. And when I released it, I'd feel that coming off of my hands. Then there was a fireball that you could get, which you felt the heat on your hands. And the last one was wind, where you felt kind of like a swirling of the wind on your hands. It was a pretty cool experience. I asked the guy, is this something that you're working on for commercial reasons or for in-home consumer use? He said it was definitely for commercial use only at the current time. Currently, this particular Ultrahaptics technology is being used by IGT, the slot manufacturer, who also have a partnership now with Vive Studios that I'll get to in my next video when I start talking about the software I experienced at GDC. Ultrahaptics, though, is using it for what's called an IGT 4D slot machine experience, where with Wheel of Fortune 4D, as an example, you can spin the wheel and you can feel that rivet where you're spinning the wheel and grab to pull to spin the wheel. It's kind of cool. I may check it out the next time I'm in Vegas. They said it's in a couple of casinos right now. They also had a storefront movie poster that was interactive that you could use for, similar to what's in a lot of malls today, an interactive display. And there was a game that you could play based on a fictitious movie where you could use the palms of your hands to control this spaceship on the screen, and when you were shot at, you'd feel that vibration on your hands. So Not a lot of consumer use here either, but cool technology and something that, we may have every day as we're walking down the street, interaction with this type of technology. Next up was Nolo VR. I have a Nolo VR at home, but yesterday when I talked about the Ant VR Mix, I talked a little bit about Nolo VR as well. Nolo VR is a solution that has a sensor for on top of your headset, 2 6-DoF controllers, so 6 degrees of freedom on each controller, and a base station very similar to the one that comes with an HTC Vive. Not as good tracking currently, but it's constantly improving. The kit for that, I believe, currently is around $199 and works with your smartphone. So you can use it with a Daydream View, with a Gear VR, with an older cardboard style plastic headset. Any of those will work with this device. And it has its own driver system, but it also works with RiftCat's VRidge software, Trinus VR, or the one that I use the most, a program called Ivry, IVRY, which is available for both iOS and Android smartphones. In addition to Nolo VR, another solution for allowing your smartphone to connect to Steam VR was the Zeiss One Connect. I did only get to use this very briefly. I don't know what kind of phone was in the headset, but the controllers, again, are 6-DoF controllers. Work pretty well, actually a little bit better than Nolo in the demo that I did at GDC. But I don't have a lot of information on it yet. I know that they're scheduled to start beta testing sometime in the next few months, and they are looking to launch later this year as well. And that's about it. I was kind of interested in the different forms of technology and how VR would be used. There was another company, I don't remember the name of them. I think it was Neurotronics or something of that nature, that had kind of a big arcade setup with the headsets tethered to the top of their booth. But I didn't have a chance to go through their booth and check out what they had to offer. But I felt like outside of consumer use, there was a lot of these pieces of technology that could be used in commercial application or industrial application. So even if the future of VR isn't in our homes per se, it's definitely going to have practical use in other markets. So I'll be back with more content soon. The next video is going to start talking about some of the games and experiences that I experienced at GDC. I don't know if I'm going to get through all of them because there was a ton that I have left to cover. But stay tuned for that. That's coming sometime later this week. Thank you for watching. Get out there and enjoy some VR for yourself, and I'll see you next time.